The topics discussed and the information provided on this program is for general information. The hosts of this show are not medical professionals and are expressing their personal views and stories related to their individual lives. Their views are not intended to be used or taken as medical information. If you or a family member have suffered a traumatic brain injury, you should seek help from a practicing licensed physician.
We hope to help you. We want you to know that there's some life after the hurt.
I'm still Matt Duffin, and we're still doing brain injury. And I'm doing the brain mechanics. It's a TV show about recovery and awareness. And I'm also teaching a little what life is like with a brain injury. I had this all written out because I do have a brain injury. And it's a long story. And this is not even the beginnings and startings. I got a bunch in between. 26 surgeries. But anyway, I laugh a lot. I make a joke of it. It's all lighthearted. Why can't my life be lighthearted? I don't want it to be serious and sad every day. No way. I go to my doctors regularly. I go to my therapist regularly. And I got 5 doctors still today. I go to therapy. 8 years now I've been going to therapy of some kind of physical or speech-driven therapy. It's a new life. And if you're going to face it real quick, you're going to have to spend time with your survivor. That's just the way it is. You're going to have to spend time with your survivor, stay up on the programs, work with them, go to classes with them, go to therapy with them, but learn your survivor. That's why you brought him home. You do not run a nursing home, except for you guys out there that run a nursing home. You don't. You don't run a therapy place. You don't know what to do for your child just because you raised it the first time and it's now 32 and it has to be raised again. You don't know how to do that. My caregiver was from 87 to 93 years old before he passed away last year. He went to every therapy session I had, almost. And he worked with me. Baby steps. We're not slow. This cannot be a sprint. You've heard that before. Marathon, we take a lunchbox to us with our marathon. We're in no hurry. And that's okay. I have to admit, again, I had written this all out. But I want you to hear my story. I only want it to be told one time. Because this isn't about me. It's about you. But a little background is not going to hurt. I'm still seeing double. My co-host and good friend, Malin Whitaker.
Buddy.
How you doing today?
Excellent.
He's agreed to read the rest of my story. It's already been lengthy, and I'll only interrupt him occasionally.
As necessary, I hope.
Yeah. But I was getting to the part to where I was just going to the party. You know, you go early so you can eat real well, because all the older farmers' wives show up and they got great food early. Then people our age show up, and you know it's okay. It's a good pitch in. Then the kids just show up, bring nothing, and just start eating. So
Got to get there.
you got to get there by 4 o'clock.
Yeah, this is read in a first person here, as if I were Matt. And as he said, we're talking about brain injury and brain mechanics and hope. And today is not a good vision day for Matt. He's having a little trouble there. So I'm going to read this as if he's there. We're picking up, innocently enough, he's gone to a party out in the country, is not untraditional around here, and they're getting together, going to have some great food, but there's something missing. So we pick it up. Matt gets there, and he says, we set up camp. Then a pair of buddies I had for almost 40 years decided we'd take a scooter ride. Needing to acquire beer, no booze is a tragedy, but real tragedy struck soon, forcing me to miss Danny's shindig after 21 straight years. Helmetless, coming out of Glenwood, Indiana, of course, I ran off the road after hitting a series of holes. Eric, my friend, said I bounced and then hopped down a ditch. My front wheel suddenly turned sideways, and for the first time in my life, I did an acrobatic twirl, momentarily leaving my groin attached to the handlebar. The state police measured my total distance as 51 feet. Trust me, that's not stretching it in any way.
Believe me.
Very rural on the Rush and Fayette County line, oddly and immediately an off-duty EMT from Carthage, Indiana, pulled aside within seconds. His knowledgeable work put me on a lifeline within moments, and within an hour and a half, the boss, Dr. Scott Bjerke, had my head apart. I hope I said that right. In the accident, I landed on top of the pavement at an angle with a now palm-sized flat spot on my skull. The landing shattered my shoulder, upper rib cage, hip, and knee on the right side. Knee took a beating and scraped my back. Dang near took off my Navy tattoo. My left hand must have struck the pavement, my knuckles near amputation. Having lost my life each day for the first 6 days, toughened my then 14-year-old daughter, Mercedes, up. And through faith, she knew I'd wake up, telling Dr. Bjerke, Dad won't like his fingers being gone. They left them on, and through love and effort, recovered. Show them your hand, man. Not only did I scrape my face along the road, evidently dragged my foot as we discovered a hole in my left tennis shoe, explaining the big toe shredded black.
It's still black 8 years later.
Hey, it's a good color for you. More highlights. My right ear was dangling. Methodist trauma glued it back on. Dad told me later, quote, that's because everyone would like to be buried with 2 ears on if they can. I can hear him saying that. I bled and puked on my lifelong friend as I gurgled away in flight. Had I been awake, I'd recognize the life-saving crew. As it later unfolded, the entire team crashed and died but 2 weeks later in a demonstration flight south of Rushville, Indiana. While in my 54-day coma, I never found opportunity to offer thanks to my local lodge brother, also on the care flight team.
We lost him.
Yep. Who was that? We'll get back to him, okay? The initial TBI during the accident was right between the eyes, my forehead initially striking the front of the bike. Yep, you can still see a little witness mark there.
They did a pretty good cover-up of that one. They got it.
The only dream I've had post-accident is still a vision of an upside-down white farmhouse and a calm city alley over a privacy fence. You probably saw both when you were twirling. At least there are 2 channels, but the first was discovered to be the last thing my brain recorded. The second was the last thing RHI mate Jason Fishburne, an Indy policeman, saw while being headshot by escaping murderer. We woke up aside another Unit 4. We shared those familiar visions in a language only we could understand.
Because we had tubes in our stomach and in our arms and head, and they were doing other things with us still.
These are all the life-saving techniques that were going on. You're kind of...
We weren't allowed to eat, so Jason and I went out in the garden every day and just kind of mumbled around to each other.
Now, Jason is a Indianapolis policeman who was
Jason
shot
Fishborn, yeah.
while making an arrest, I believe. Or no,
Yeah.
actually, he didn't even get a chance. I
He
think.
didn't get. He was chasing a known murderer
Okay.
down an alley and was climbing the fence and got shot in the head.
Wow.
He made it.
Yay! Both men of authority, Jason, an honorable Indianapolis Metro police officer, and me, a hometown Little League umpire. The following TBI, number 2, came seconds later. Splat! The top of my noggin hit the pavement like a spear. Death. And I'm not sure what LOC4 means. What does that mean? Location 4? Nope.
Um,
We'll go on.
it's your right of living, what your rating of living is.
So 4 is not, if you get a 4 on the LOC, that's not good.
Oh no, you're supposed to be dead for 5 and below.
Okay. Well,
People know what an LOC is, and if you wouldn't ask me, I could have answered.
Well, I'm
it.
glad you didn't go limit out all of a sudden. I'm glad you're back. 6 times Bjerke lost me. Recovered my flat line on 5 of them, but Doc gives me credit for the last one. The family voted plug pullers. I figured Sadie snuck over and plugged it back in. I kept the unsigned death certificate. Yet months later, the TV staring surgeon explained of me being quite proud of his work. Me too. I'm allowed to call the nation's number 5 rated trauma surgeon Scott. And he and everyone else, except his wife probably, refers to him as the boss.
He took my stomach out 7 months later. We did a lot of work with my stomach. I had gangrene that showed up. I had a lot of milk in the morning would come out of my chest, and when I was allowed to eat, there was like little rat poo coming out of my stomach. And nobody could get it fixed, and they couldn't find out what's wrong. Bjerke dug into me 5 times, or one of his interns, and they couldn't find nothing. And finally one day, I saw this one intern, and we were laughing and joking, and he went, I asked him, what is ooh, and what's that mean? And he wouldn't tell me. He went and got Scott. Dr. Bjerke's been on that show, Life in the ER. He's one of their stars,
Okay.
if you will.
Okay.
He's really, really, really a great trauma surgeon. Just outstanding. Something wrong with you, he'll get you back to life 6 times. That's a lot.
Not bad.
He said that was more than he'd ever done. But again, I'm not bragging on anything except him. You know, I'm just telling you how it is. And to tell you how it is about me sounds like bragging.
Well, and Matt, wouldn't you say, for those who have the injured back with them and they're not sure why they're back either, you know, why they have this burden of care, sometimes it's not your time to go, right?
Evidently. I say I had angels following me around. I was in purgatory. I kept going by people that was known to me to be dead that I knew. I just float by them. Mom would still be with me.
Neat.
I believe it was the 4th day that we went to a big cloud, dark cloud, and talked to somebody at the front. Must have been St. Peter or his people or something. And we stepped in and we heard a voice, and it was Jesus Christ. And we talked to him for a while. Mama, she was always up my butt to act right, but
You gave her a lot of opportunities to say that.
oh yeah.
I've known him for a while.
So I was trying. And we had to leave that day. I can't remember what I was told. I ended up going back. And it had to be heaven. Because I heard again the voice of Christ. I'd seen him the first time. The second time I heard another voice come over him, and it was deep and loud. And what the heck he was saying, I was so shocked and scared I couldn't pay attention. And my mom's like grabbing me, you know, like a little kid.
Back.
Yeah.
Protecting you.
Yeah. And he told me my chances was to do better or not. That was my choices. So evidently he made the decision to send me back to Earth for now. And my choice was to act right, and considering my life before, I believe I am.
Well, and that's how Matt has come to be on the internet with the Brain Injury Radio, and specifically to be on television like this on the Brain Mechanics. What we're doing right now is reading his story, or I'm reading his story. He's having some vision issues today, and these things happen. I'm his friend and a neighbor of his, Malin Whitaker. So we'll get back to your story.
I had to interrupt and say something.
I think that was the most appropriate interruption that I've ever heard from you.
Take a break. Take a break so you didn't have to talk. Anyway, go ahead.
All right. So again, we're back after he's recently injured, and 5 times over 6 days, Dr. Scott Bierke's talent and equipment returned my life. On day 6, though, the vote was taken to pull the plug. Wasn't his vote, wasn't Dr. Bierke's vote, but
it wasn't my daughter's vote either.
No, and he'd worked awfully hard on me. And I'm reading this as first person, like Matt was saying this. In my baseball mind, I emphatically called ball 4. Next was 35 days in trauma, ICU, or as the personal memory of my coma reflects, the living casket. My family was worn out and emotionally drained, I'm sure, but this Duffin has never accepted quit as an activity. My long-deceased mother and 2 other beings appeared at my feet, glowing all white beyond my black toe. I had been in her strange world of heaven. She took me to the big altar after seeing what purgatory would be like. Remember, 6 times, so evidently 6 trips. I know a lot of trips took place. I was kind of looking forward to the next trip, and the last one ended such as this. She talked. The memorable finger was pointing. A prominent James Matthew couldn't be far behind, but the only words I remember of the conversation was, "And Matthew, that baby is over there in that chair crying because you won't get up. Don't you think it's time to get up? I said get up." Mama never lied to me. So I reckon it was time to get up, at least get that finger out of my face. Massive rehab followed, Methodist trauma unit, both at Rehabilitation Hospital of Indianapolis, then near home. During that time, trauma number 3 lay awake with me. Why does chocolate milk pour from my chest? Eventually, months later, Dr. Bierke was needed to remove my stomach. Methodists had misplaced a clamp in my stomach. The Larry Bird of trauma docs, Bierke fought gangrene. He found it and removed my tummy, or 2/3 of it. The hospital took good care of me since, and I wasn't interested in a court case as much as looking at the sun and eating. It'd been a long time. Now, if I could only swallow. Exactly 1 year from the date of my accident, inside the dedicated rehab by a multitude of therapists, 3 to 4 days a week of physical, occupational, and speech, my series of trauma would slap me in the head, literally, once more. Mercedes was rushed into emergency and later stayed for a week due to seizure complications herself. Mercedes is his daughter. Beautiful young lady. As my 90-year-old chauffeur drove at night interstate bound, he began to swerve, another hampering medical situation. Was Mom talking again? Upon finally arriving at the hospital, a Wayne County deputy noticed we had swerved, and upon exit, we didn't walk well. Without rationalizing with our approach of, I have a fresh brain injury, he took me to the ground, slammed my head on the pavement several times while forcibly twisting and beating on my multiple injuries over the past year. Further, the officer struck my father hard enough to make him puke on his way to the ground. Now I was looking for Mom again, wondering if she had wanted Sadie, me and her husband. I was just a bit early last year. They doctored me up, took me to jail. Though I asked for a speedy trial, the charges against me for looking like a villain, unquote, remained for 3.5 years. Eventually representing myself as much as my public defender did, we won the case on 4 gavels down of not guilty. This I think is important for people to know that oftentimes brain injured people, post-traumatic stress people and that sort of thing will act in ways and especially react to the authority or be unable, this is important, very important, to be unable to act in a manner that they perceive their instructions in. It's not that they're drunk or they're belligerent or they're high or anything like that. It doesn't sync up. And what came of what we just read about is talking to the police and first responders and these sort of things so that they understand the difference between someone who might be high or someone who might be criminally inclined or whatever, or alcohol or drug induced, and brain injury. Oftentimes you'll meet people and they'll act in a certain way and you'll think, ooh, but brain injured people have difficulty in hooking up what the information is coming in from the outside world and also getting their information back out. And so we had a situation here, this really, really bad situation.
Right, you was involved with that for me. Thank you much for your assistance.
And nobody was happy about it. No, the thing is,
the judge wasn't happy about it.
Nobody was happy about this. And if anything comes out of it, keep in mind that vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. But what we are hoping to do is to educate people, especially for the veterans and these type of folks that are coming home, or officers that might have been injured, that they have brain injuries and they needed to be treated in a peculiar way. And the first thing is not the normal whatever type of interaction that you might have.
One of his problems with me was I was slow and I couldn't react to what he was saying.
And most people...
And I didn't understand it. So I did. I will openly admit, I stood there at the back of my car. I couldn't understand what he was saying, why.
And listen, this is important in this particular case. Matt had to be, people who have brain injuries have to be trained to do specific things. And if it's not within the realm of their learning, you'd say, well, that's easy. It's just the passenger door versus the driver's door. In Matt's case, he knew how to get in the passenger door because he'd been trained to do so. He's not the normal driver. He had taken over from his 90-plus-year-old father who's having a diabetes condition. And so, you couldn't figure out how to get in the damn door.
No. That was only the second time I was trying to get in the driver's door, and the other time was 10 minutes earlier. I mean, yeah.
Well, the important thing is that we want those in authority to know, those are the first responders, the first interactors with people, that there are folks out there that simply, they can't sync it up. They mean no harm.
Brain injuries are different than mental issues.
Correct.
People that you're born with or you have.
Very important, very important.
Brain injuries, it's just you. You're okay. I mean, you're not okay, but you're okay. It's still you. You're in there.
Well, we know of other situations like that. So if you do...
Here, I found
Got your card?
I got a card that identifies...
That's your brain injured?
Just
hold it up to the red... Well, I'm gonna. You're getting emotional here, so I'm gonna keep talking then. But anyway, so here's what he's been through. Let's see: cancer, death-defying TBI, stomach removal, a boneheaded police officer about to tase me. Enough? Nope. My daughter and I were rear-ended at a stoplight 8 days later, pulling into therapy. Oh dear. At least it was close to the hospital. Seizures intensified with the added bangs and bangs slowed me down more. But no one outside the brain world would actually listen to me. I was, quote, goofy. I treaded water trying to sports writing again. My comfort zone of being around number 54 coach Brad Stevens became a friend as Butler University basketball games proved to be a great occupational therapy. Focus outside of yourself.
And number 54 would be Matt Howard.
Oh, everybody knows that, don't they? Anyway, we sure picked 2 good years for that. But why write? Couldn't remember words to use, struggle with numbers. And this was his previous avocation and vocation. Realized nothing was left in an empty tank. I wasn't me and I could never be me again. I miss Matt Duffin since day one. Even the law won't admit an obvious mistake, or was it me? I was warned my damage won't go away and that chunk of my noggin is gone, along with my distancing friends. And that's the other thing that happens, if people will distance themselves from you because they don't know how to interact. And that's what we hope this show, Brain Mechanics, will help you achieve, is how to interact with those people around you. But along with my distancing friends, it was a detrimental comprehension at best. Bulldogs and Pacers, the sports teams, Western Wayne, Sports Wayne, deadlines are inconceivable, or are they? Odd how and why those thoughts entered my mind. I'd read about Dr. Lisa Thompson. Was she talking to me in a way only brain injured understands? From the country and over an hour away, I figured out a way to get my good ear near NRC. Not allowed to drive, I'll figure out how to enroll. I do have drive. Through continuous efforts, we found finances for me to attend BICS, that's a recovery center. My foot was in the door, but skeptical initially. Dr. Backhouse's program soon grew on me and became my foremost schedule of the week. I shared my world with people of the same genre. I've learned as I've taught, and I've learned as I've listened. I've seen recoveries, focus and non-focused recoveries comprehend. Dr. Backhouse's ability to understand, enlighten, and share in the rambling brain injury focus is beyond reproach, as is the ever-educating staff. She took me from near death to near suicide to understanding brain injury life with a strong drive towards aiding our future. Faith joined my freshman class in BICS, and now I offer instruction. I personally enjoyed watching many growths, including my own. Brain injury understandings are never a finished product. Get used to it. Takes on a different meaning. The IBA, IA, and Reed Hospital speech therapist Joni Goings and I recently began the East Central Indiana Brain Injury Support Group. And we're running out of time here, so agreed to be in the hospital's research guinea pig and gained knowledge from my weekly efforts in the mentor program to being a BICS grad student, social skills classes, behavior classes, and hopefully more in family recourses. All within a 3-year goal of my death. You see, after BICS, words saved my life. I owe them at least one. Quietly, the NRC folks and I have spent the last 7 years on a mission. We found ways that I and Faith can work together. And we're near the end.
Yeah, where is that last page? That's the last page?
That's it. We're all in, all done. Thank you and good night. Part of the program. Thanks so much for listening.
You know, I mean, that's a long story. It's been a long life.
And we're out of time, my friend. Remember, these are our personal opinions, but we've been there, done that, and we want you to know that there's hope after a brain injury, post-traumatic stress, and that sort of thing. And that even though you feel alone, you're not. That there are people like Matt and me and the resources that we're going to deliver to you that are out there. Remember, these are our opinions. We're not the doctors, lawyers, nor Indian chiefs, or in any way medical professionals. We've just been there and we know, and you're not alone.
As I have said many times over, and I got it from a Colt, an Indianapolis Colt, brain injury is the last thing on your mind until it becomes the only thing on your mind.
Yes. Thanks, guys.
The topics discussed and the information provided on this program is for general information. The hosts of this show are not medical professionals and are expressing their personal views and stories related to their individual lives. Their views are not intended to be used or taken as medical information. If you or a family member have suffered a traumatic brain injury, you should seek help from a practicing licensed physician.